Hello, um, my name is Ricki. I'm 16. Um, I'm actually a member of the Circle, which is part of the Realms Collective. Um, I don't really know what to say about me. I have a twin sister, her name is Rhonda, and we have an older sister, her name is Rosie. Um, all three of us, we don't we don't really look like the body. We're more, we look more biracial, um, with lighter skin. Our hair's brown, uh, not a light brown, a dark brown. It's about shoulder length and wavy. And Rhonda and I have brown eyes, and Rosie's got like brownish green eyes. So it's a bit disorienting sometimes to look at our reflection, because we don't look at all like the body, but um, we've come to accept that that's just the way it is. I was originally going to try and do videos of all of the different collectives, and decided that um, I was not going to do that because it's going to take a little more explanation of things and going into things that we don't really want to talk about right now. So instead, I thought I would come and talk a little bit about what it's like for us to live with, being multiple and what we have to deal with. Our system is constantly in a state of flux. Um, we don't have the same fronters on a regular basis. Certain people come around regularly, like Dusty and Random have been fronting pretty much off and on, and Linnea has been around quite a bit. Derek has been around. Most of the old guard is what we call them, the ones that fronted before the Crystal Horizons showed up earlier this year, have not been around, and that makes things very interesting when, say, you're in a relationship and your partner is suddenly faced with a whole bunch of people she doesn't know. That has not been easy for a lot of people. I personally, I'm not from the Crystal Horizons. I've been around for a while, and really it's only been in the last couple of weeks that those of us from the realms and from different systems have been able to reach the front again, um, which we think is probably a bit of progress. Um, but we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the difficulties that we've had to face. Unfortunately, we have never been a high functioning system, um, because there are so many of us, and because there was, at one time, there were large memory blocks, lots of lost time. It made it hard for things to stay consistent. When we got married to our ex, we were 19 and we were pregnant, and there was a lot of chaos and confusion, and because at that time we didn't know what was going on with us, we thought we were just insane. But for example, we have not been able to hold down a job since we left the job that we had when we were pregnant. The longest we worked before we were 19, we worked at one job for a year and a half and another job for a year. And after we got pregnant and got married, we have not been able to hold a job for more than 2 months at a time, because our PTSD symptoms are very bad. For those of you who don't know what PTSD is, it's post-traumatic stress disorder. It comes along with a lot of symptoms. Anxiety is one of the bigger ones that we have problems with. We have trouble with large crowds. For us to go just like to Walmart, we have to take our MP3 player and keep our music in and just kind of shut out that other people are there. If we can't find our MP3 player, it's very, very stressful, and it can be very draining and cause high levels of anxiety. Just, going to Walmart. Of course, Walmart's a very large store, but we've been dealing with that for years. We've had to make accommodations for when we go places, like when our family, when their birthdays, we kind of have to psych ourselves up for it, and usually for 2 or 3 days afterwards we're not good for anything, because it took all of our energy and concentration to make it through the party. That's been a consistent thing pretty much since the children were small. We just don't deal well with people at all. In fact, many of us prefer not to deal with people we don't know when we don't have to, which of course makes it difficult to meet people if you don't ever actually deal with people you don't know. We have a number of other psychiatric diagnoses. One of them is bipolar. In our case, the bipolar affects the entire system. It's the way we think of it is that there are some things that apparently are like physiological, meaning that the body itself has it. Therefore, all of us in the system experience it to some degree. And then there are people in the system who have specific problems of their own that are not necessarily, they don't necessarily affect anyone else, but when they do front, it affects the body more. The bipolar, we are on medication for, and it affects us in different ways. When we're manic, some of us get very hyperactive. Some of us get very obsessive about writing or making jewelry. Like one time we were in a manic phase and we made 14 sets of jewelry. That's a necklace and earring sets. We made 14 sets in 4 hours, which while it's great for productivity, is not great for our wrists. Tony, whenever we're manic, he tends to get angry and have rage fits. He has a real problem dealing with that. Other people tend to get restless. and can't stay in one place. So while we do know that we've got bipolar, it affects us all in different ways. The same with the depression. Some people just want to sleep all the time. Some people don't want to sleep at all. It's very hard to get motivated to do anything at all. Um, you know, even it's like in our head we might have a list of 15 different things that we might want to do, and yet we don't have the energy to do even one of them. So usually we'll end up just watching anime or something that um, we can that we can break up into bits and pieces, and then we go do something else like lay down. Besides the bipolar and the PTSD, we also have generalized anxiety disorder, and we have one doctor that apparently has diagnosed us with personality disorder not otherwise specified. For a while we were a little offended by that, but after we've given it some thought and looked up the definition of it, we realized that it probably does fit us. We do know that quite a few of us have borderline traits. Whenever we get into certain moods, we have passive aggressive tendencies. We've gotten a lot better at catching when somebody is doing that, and going back and talking to whoever it was we were interacting with and going, look, we're sorry, we know that we were being very borderline or very passive aggressive with this. And please understand that whenever we use the term borderline, we are not in any way trying to make light of those who have borderline personality disorder. We know that it's a very difficult disorder to live with. And, we did have one therapist that actually did diagnose us as borderline, and we kind of shrugged it off and said, no, I don't think so. We're starting to think that perhaps there may have been more truth to that than we really wanted to admit. The more that we read up on borderline personality disorder, the more that we find we have a lot of the symptoms, which when you combine it with the bipolar and being multiple is fun, but not in a good way. We also have a number of physical problems. We have lupus, which is an autoimmune disease, which causes inflammation. It can affect any of the body's systems. The most effects that we have generally have to do with our joints. Our lower back and our hips are the worst, but it also affects our knees and ankles, as well as our wrists. Therefore, when we're having a lupus flare, sometimes it's very difficult and very painful to have to do things. For the last month and a half, we've actually had to resort to using our crutches again, which is not fun at all. But at least, it's something that we've been dealing with for years, so it's not like a surprise. We just really hate having to admit that, our body is doing something we really don't want it to do. But besides the lupus, we've also been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. We also have carpal tunnel in both wrists, and we've got a degenerative bone condition, which apparently is genetic. It runs in our mother's family. So physically, we are not capable of doing a lot of the things we used to do. We used to be much more physically capable of handling things. In fact, that used to be a point of pride for us. We used to call ourselves the pack mule, and I know that sounds kind of derogatory, but we prided ourselves on being able to haul anything that needed to be hauled, to move things, to pick things up, to shift things, do things, that a lot of people would wonder, how on earth do you manage to do that? And that comes to another peculiarity of our system, is we have very, very good pain blockers. We've got two separate groups of pain blockers. We've got a subconscious set of pain blockers that they go into effect without any control at all. And we also have different members of the system who are capable of pain blocking for certain amounts of time. So we know, like, if we're having a particularly bad day, but we know that we've got to go to the grocery store and do some stuff, then, somebody who's capable of pain blocking can do that for about 30 to 45 minutes so that we can get done what we need done. And then, of course, once the pain blocking stops, then the pain tends to be a little bit worse. But we also know that's going to happen whenever we do that, so we expect it. We do live with a lot of chronic pain, and we can't accurately gauge our pain levels, because we're able to function through pain levels that most people would not be able to. So, like, if we have to go to the doctor, and they ask us on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain level? We actually have to add 2 or 3 numbers to whatever number pops in our head for it to be an accurate gauge of what our pain levels are. We are aware that the body is often in far more pain than we're actually experiencing, which is one of those strange things with dissociation. And in our case, we tend to use it as much as possible. It does sometimes mean that we're causing more damage to the body than we should be, but we also have to do things. There are things that we have to do that nobody else can do. Our partner, she's also chronically ill. She's got a lot of conditions. She's got a chronic pain condition and has had several surgeries over the past 5-6 years. So even with all of our disabilities, we're often more capable of handling things than they are. Yes, our partners also multiple, which makes for interesting times for everybody. But it's not all fun. I mean, there are hard times, hard things that we have to deal with, and there are a lot of things that we regret that we haven't been able to do because of our various disorders, or because when we were actually in therapy, when we were working through certain issues, there would be you know constant breakdowns, and we would be just barely functional. We're more functional now than we used to, but we are not capable of holding a job, and that makes many of us feel as if we're a bit worthless, especially when we hear about other people who are also DID who actually do have jobs that they can go to and work with, and it makes us feel bad in a way, like perhaps we're not trying hard enough, or maybe if we just did this or that we could function better. But for right now we are on disability, so we don't always have a lot of money, and things are difficult from time to time, but we make it work. We've been on disability since 2005, so that's 8 years now that we've been on disability, and as our physical condition seems to be deteriorating, we don't see that changing anytime soon unless we can find a job that we can do where we can work from home, or that doesn't require standing for long periods of time or even sitting for long periods of time, because of our back and hip problems. But even though we have all of those problems and we have bad days, we do have good days, and we do still manage to have some fun. A couple of weeks ago, we and our daughter went to the Supernatural convention in Dallas, and we had a lot of fun. We had to wear all our braces and take our crutches, but it was a lot of fun. It was the first time that we as a system have been to anything like that in years, and we were very happy that we could go, and we were very happy that we went with our daughter, because both of us are very massive Supernatural fans. That seems to be something that runs across the system. I mean, there's certain shows that some people will watch, others of us are like, okay, if you want to watch that, that's fine. I'm not going to watch that. But for us, Supernatural is, it kind of crosses all the boundaries of the system, and just about everybody is interested in it for so many reasons. So that was quite a bit of fun. So we do get a chance to take a break from stress and have a bit of fun and everything, but we still have issues, even though we aren't currently in therapy. The last time we were in therapy was 2007. Um, we still have a lot of work, as far as learning to cope with things and learning to deal with issues that still come up. We still have memories that will resurface from childhood trauma. We still have people who are wounded who need help and healing, and we've been doing it largely on our own, with some help from our partner and some help from our best friend. She's been a lot of help. We've known her for 13 years now. That's a long time. And she actually still talks to us, which is a bit of a surprise for us, because we have a lot of trouble keeping friends. But we just wanted to say that even though things can get really bad, and believe me, they've gotten really bad, somehow we've managed to keep going. like such as these videos that we've started doing. A year ago, we would never have tried this, but we're having a bit of fun with it. But there's also more reasons than just because we're not just doing it because so many other people are doing it. We're also doing it because, well, we want other people to know that there are, yes, there's a great diversity among DID systems, but even with what we've seen online, on YouTube and such, there's things that don't get brought up and don't get mentioned, and we thought maybe we could do that. Like at some point, we were going to talk a little bit about what it's like being a mum and having a DID, and having 3 little kids that you're trying to take care of and go to therapy, and you know, the kind of frustration and chaos and stuff that can go along with that. Another thing that we want to mention in another video at some point is how, as it's coming clear that DID is not nearly as rare as people like to think it is, we also feel like there's a certain lack of DID systems of other races that are willing to talk about things, and we feel it's really important to address that issue. It's an issue that's bothered us for quite some time, and we hope to address that in another video. But yes, now I'm just rambling. But I just wanted to say hi, because our system mates said, "Oh my god, you're fronting today. You have to make a video so everybody can hear you." Because they still think they still think it's quite interesting that there's so many of us with various accents when we've never left America in our life. We grew up in Texas. On the farthest west we've been, no, the farthest east we've been is Florida, and we were only there for 2.5 years, so there's a lot of wondering about where our accents came from. And so since I was here, I figured I'd come say hi, and now I'm embarrassed and I think I'm gonna go away now. But it was nice talking to you, and I hope that I didn't bore you. And somebody in the back of my head just said that if you happen to recognize where my accent comes from, if you could let us know.